Welcome, IndyCar fans, to the Central Indiana Sports Report for our IndyCar Report with Elijah Poe. I'm your host, Greg Mengelt. I'm joined on the Riverside app by Elijah Poe here in the off-season, here to catch you up on some news and notes and rumors. And Elijah, a couple words I didn't expect to hear in the off-season were Schumacher and Cleveland.
Yeah, it is definitely good to be back. Like you said, this is our first official off-season podcast. We definitely didn't forget about all the IndyCar fans out there. And as you alluded to Schumacher in Cleveland, it's nice to see Mick Shumacher be testing here in IndyCar. He was out at the IMS road course here. And, here in Cleveland, that might be back in the calendar here. I'm not really sure when that would happen, but there have been some rumors of some city officials talking. IndyCar might return back to the airport for a race, which would just be great.
Oh, man, I've been to that a couple of times. Elijah, you could fit 100,000 people, and every one of them could see 85% of a road course, which is just an incredible venue.
That's what you want. To think that IndyCar could get maybe a little bit further east. Obviously, I know Mid-Ohio is about smack dab in the middle near Mansfield, Ohio. But to get to Cleveland and maybe reach some of that northeast market, maybe pull from New York and Philadelphia, that's exactly what the sport needs.
Yeah, all I know is that it produces great racing, and that's all I really care about. It's the most wide open IndyCar road course that I've ever seen. Probably the most wide open wheel track that there was, and it was a shame that it went away. And you can spend the day before, go to qualifying, and go see the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Or, Cleveland's a horrible place. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to give Cleveland any credit, but there are some things to do in Cleveland if you're there. I'm just saying.
Well, I think it would be great too if you get a brand new IndyCar fan and you throw them out on a track like Mid-Ohio. If you really don't know what's going on racing-wise, all you're going to see is a bunch of cars pass you. You're not really going to know the order because, you can't see the whole track unless you're on a short oval. That's what can make Cleveland unique, and is where you can see the cars 24/7. And that's really hard to do with road courses. Obviously, it's going to be impossible to see every single car and every single pass.
Most of them, you don't see any of it. You see a very small portion of it.
Exactly. And if you're able to set up a venue where you can see the full road course, I'm not sure there's another venue in the United States that has an opportunity to do something like that. Nothing comes to mind right off the bat, that's for sure.
Where I was at the top of the grandstands where they put the media, which was a very cool place for media. It was really just open air seating, but it was at the top of the stands, so it was really cool. You could probably see 95% of the track, even down a little lower. No doubt you can see 85% of the track, and the parts that are wide open are right in front of you. It's just so cool. And you can see 5, 6, 7 different turns and be watching different things happen at the same time. It looks like it's going to happen from what I'm reading. The Greater Cleveland Sports Commission, as you mentioned, they have confirmed that they really want to do this as soon as 2028.
I think it would be so great to think of being able to see even 50% of the track. I'm just pulling out an example from if you go to the IMS road course and sit in turn 1 of the oval, so you can see the last couple corners of the road course, you can really only see about 40% of the lap, unless you pay big money to sit up in a penthouse where you can see probably 60%.
Exactly.
You just don't get that anywhere else. And to be in Cleveland, sticking close to the Midwest, I think it'd be such a great opportunity for IndyCar. And they're in a spot where they need more races. I'd be really surprised if they didn't jump at this one.
The rumor is they may start at the Lakefront Airport and then move to downtown Cleveland, and I think that would be a huge mistake. I know that you can probably make more money downtown Cleveland or whatever, but it's such a great venue, guys. Let's please have this part of the series. If you ask me every year, what races do you miss the most? It's Michigan, it was Phoenix, and it was Cleveland.
I'd be really interested to see where they would even put the race in the streets of downtown Cleveland. I've been to Cleveland a handful of times, and I'm not really sure, other than near the waterfront, that you would have space parking to do all that. Like you said, I'm just not sure it'd be a great race, and I understand IndyCar is. I feel like all racing series right now are really hyper focused on getting them inside the streets of cities, which makes total sense commercially wise. But we want to see a great race, and if you have a venue that's going to have a great race.
So the Schumacher situation, apparently he is testing for Rahal Letterman. And if you're IndyCar, he's not his father. He's not the same talent that his father is, but the name alone would be a huge get for the series.
I think you hit it on the nail there. He is definitely not Michael Schumacher. I'm not sure anybody is, but having him have the opportunity to come into IndyCar, I think would put so many eyeballs on the sport. Like you said, because that last name, it does hold weight, just like Andretti
Especially in Europe.
does. Yeah,
Especially in Europe.
just like the name Andretti does in the United States or in
Absolutely.
Europe, when you hear Schumacher, you're going to think racing. And for him to be testing for RLL, I know they've had a bunch of different drivers test for them in years past. But my thing to Schumacher would be, why not come over? Why not
Yeah.
test? They've got a lot of previous Formula One drivers who have tested in the cars, and it feels like it doesn't lead to a contract. I feel like RLL would kind of be missing the ball there if they at least didn't offer him, because there's no way they're going to bring back DeFrancesco back as it is in 2026.
You would think DeFrancesco would have to have one hell of a season to save that ride. I'm sure he's a nice guy, don't get me wrong. But he's been on some of the best teams in IndyCar, and the results have not shown it. Speaking of Andretti Racing, his former team, they have hired Ron Rzuski to be the team principal for Will Power, his former team principal at Penske. Do you think that was in the works, and that's why Power jumped so quickly?
I think that was definitely in the works, but I want to say Power kind of had the upper hand on Rzuski, that Rzuski was going to follow Power wherever he went. And having somebody who's been at Penske for, I think it was 20 years in 2024, obviously he was dismissed after the whole
Right.
attenuator incident at the 500 this year in May. But to think of Will Power teaming up with somebody he's been in contact with and been working with for over 20 years at Andretti, I can't imagine a better case scenario for Andretti in 2026, having Will Power, who's going to be an absolute stud, specifically on the street and road courses. For qualifying, I can't imagine the result he's going to have, and having Rzuski be a team principal who's been very, very high up in Team Penske for over 20 seasons. Andretti is looking really, really strong so far.
I agree. I just want to play a little devil's advocate. If you're Will Power, wouldn't you maybe want to try something new? Maybe try another fit. I guess if 20 years it's that comfortable, but
Yeah.
I thought
Well,
new environment, maybe new approach.
I think the environment change as a whole is the biggest factor. He was at Penske for what, 17 years. That's a long, long time, and I can get the devil's advocate of wanting to change things up, but man, I just think a whole new team. He's going to be switching from a Chevy to a Honda powered engine. I'll be interested to see how he's going to handle that. I think that obviously we all know Honda had the upper hand on Chevy this year, but that changes every other season. Feels like it flip flops. So there's going to be a lot of new for Will Power for sure, but I think it's more of a positive that he's going to have at least a little bit of stability on the team principal side with Rzuski, who's been proven in this sport time and time and again.
Especially at Indy. And you say you think Will Power's going to be great next season. I have my questions. He's been okay the last 5 years. I think he's probably on the second part of his career, but
Yeah,
what
there's no
this
doubt.
does is give him a real chance to win Indy again.
And I'll be interested just to think of the lineup Andretti has with Kyle Kirkwood and Marcus Ericsson. You talk about those three drivers. I wouldn't be super shocked if Will Power beats Kirkwood. Like, I'm not saying he is going to next year, but I expect that to be pretty close.
I can see that. I think he's probably on the Kirkwood level. I just don't think he's on a top 5 level anymore.
Yeah,
I think he's
you
the
are
kind
right.
of guy who's going to win you 3 races in a year, and that's fine. He's just probably not going to be a championship contender if that's what people are thinking. That's my opinion. Who
No, I
knows?
know.
Who knows what the
Yeah.
change of scenery could do? Maybe it reinvigorates him and he goes out and challenges. I just haven't seen the same willpower the last 5 years. Although the second half of this last season was a pretty impressive performance by him.
I think it would definitely be the craziest thing next year if he's able to really stick it to Penske and if he's able to win the 500 in an Andretti car and Penske doesn't win at a
Mm,
Penske owned track. I couldn't think
mm,
of a better storyline to kind of stick it in Roger Penske's face if that were to happen for Will Power. See, those two are in a very good relationship,
I would think
and
so.
there's no animosity between those two, but
I would hope not.
man, you know there would be a field day if Will Power was able to win the 500, and being in an Andretti car, they've been obviously super strong there.
To be fair to Roger, Will Power's results, like I said, the last 5 years since he won the 500 have just not been good enough for Penske. And
That's
I think
true.
that's the bottom line. And I think they wanted to go with someone younger and a long-term deal and didn't feel comfortable doing that with Will Power. And I think Andretti probably wins out because of it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I feel like both teams, it's a rare scenario in IndyCar where both Penske and Andretti, I think, kind of won this offseason,
I think
silly
so.
season. Obviously, Penske's getting a very young and talented David Malukas, albeit he's a little unproven. I think we all know he's got the potential.
Yep, he's got the potential, but he has to prove it now. He has no choice.
Yeah, he definitely does have to prove it, and I'll be interested to see how he's going to be able to match up with Scotty Mack and Joseph Newgarden. Obviously, both of those two are well established within that team, and really the team as a whole, with how rough of a 2025 season they had. I mean, if they're able just to turn around that momentum, obviously they got a little hot there at the end of the year, having Will Power win Portland and Joseph Newgarden winning in Nashville. But obviously, that first half of that season in 2025 was definitely forgettable for Penske.
Any movement on the seats that need to be filled that you're hearing rumors or anything confirmed?
I'm not hearing any rumors yet on AJ Foyt. Obviously, we know Santino's going to be in that car, but it really feels like to me that they're going to be eyeing Rinus VeeKay, with Rinus VeeKay departing Dale Coyne Racing. I think the possible matchup of Rinus VeeKay and Santino Ferrucci and AJ Foyt Racing, I think that brings them a win in 2025. Those are two really quick, really aggressive, really young drivers, and they ought to be licking their chops at the opportunity to pair up those two.
Yeah, but neither one of them's good as Malukas, I don't think. So I
Yeah,
don't know.
that's
I
true.
don't know if it does bring wins, but it could. They very easily could have won some races last year. So, it's not a stretch to think they're going to win one this year. Both of those guys are certainly capable.
Yeah, and I was more thinking along the lines where, they had this improvement in 2023, got a little bit better, they've gotten a little bit better every year for these past 3 seasons.
Good point.
And that's definitely going to be a talking point heading into this year if they're able to kind of break that bubble and kind of burst into a team where they're going to be alongside Arrow McLaren, and obviously they're not going to be competing with Penske, Ganassi, and McLaren, but if they can be maybe that fourth or fifth team in the series, I wouldn't be surprised if they can maybe squeak out a win.
Another team that would like to compete for that title would be Dale Coyne Racing, of course. Always, I can't even tell you how long they've been known as one of the small teams in IndyCar. But they now have a partnership with Andretti, and again, they've always outkicked their coverage. You've always been better than the money that they put into it and the drivers they supposedly have. They always outcompete what they're supposed to. So getting this extra help could be a big deal to Dale Coyne Racing, and he deserves it.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be huge. Obviously, Dale Coyne Racing also has signed Dennis Hauger for next season, which I think is going to be such a great move. We saw him in Indy Next all year, just pretty much dominate that series as a
Yeah,
whole.
we'll
And
see
with
him at the
that,
top. We'll see him at the top of the standing sometimes. Not
yeah,
often, and probably in a coin, but we're going to hear his name next year.
I would not be surprised. And with that strategic calls that Dale Coyne has been often known to produce, I wouldn't be surprised to see him, squeak out some top tens and maybe even a few top fives. Going on to that Andretti partnership as well, and this is a perfect opportunity for Dennis Hauger to put a few years in at Dale Coyne Racing, and the minute either Will Power or Marcus Ericsson moves on from Andretti, that's the next man up.
That sure seems like that's the situation there. He drove for it.
And it's going to be interesting to see who also is in that second seat for Dale Coyne Racing. There's nothing that's pointing away from not keeping Abel in the car again. Obviously, he had a pretty rough season, but it was his first year in IndyCar, and he was definitely able to bring some huge sponsorships to that car as well. He is very young, very young.
Yeah, I think he's not run his last IndyCar race.
No.
With his connections.
Exactly. And it's also going to be interesting to see Jungo Hollinger Racing has not made any announcements on kind of where they're going for 2026 either. I know you and I are both pretty high on them keeping Connor Daly. I would actually be pretty genuinely shocked if they don't re-sign him. But I would also be just as shocked if they do sign Stingray Robb, who just had a pretty bad season last year.
All right, Elijah, before we head out, what's the situation with Cadillac?
So it's getting a little interesting here for the Colton Herta storyline. Obviously, we know he has left Andretti and is moving to the Formula One Cadillac team, and It's been announced that he's going to be their test driver, but they've also made some recent announcements on their sim drivers, and IndyCar fans will be delighted to know that Simon Pagenaud is going to be one of the Formula One Cadillac sim drivers, as well as ex-Haas reserve driver Pietro Fittipaldi and endurance racer Charlie Eastwood. I think that it throws another interesting leg into the Colton Herta storyline over there. We're not quite sure if he's going to do F2 yet to get those super license points, or if he's going to maybe take a couple years to build up his super license points by running in the free practices over at Formula One. But it is going to be interesting to see if Colton Herta is able to achieve his dream of Formula One, because man, he left a great opportunity here at IndyCar.
Yeah, I mean, Andretti wins 500s.
Yeah.
That's a seat you probably don't want to give up, but if you want to be in Formula One, man, God bless you.
I think he's got a good shot. Obviously he's behind Valtteri Bottas and Sergio Perez. Wouldn't be shocked if those two drivers. I think the Cadillac's going to keep them in the car for a full year here in 2026 with new rule regulations and new car regulations for the next Formula One season. It'd be silly to put somebody new in a car. But if those two don't perform after a year, or maybe we get through half the season and Colton Herta has the FIA points to put him in the car, I wouldn't be surprised he's kind of the next man up.
And I have no problem with a driver chasing a dream. I did have a problem with Sam Hornish and Danica Patrick chasing the money to go to NASCAR.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with somebody chasing a dream, though.
And here's the thing: even if Herta doesn't work out in Formula One, I think we all know that he's got a seat in IndyCar anytime he wants
Of
it.
course.
I mean, what team wouldn't take him? He's a proven winner. It is definitely going to be fun for some IndyCar fans to maybe see if Colton Herta. I can't imagine, waking up on a Sunday at 5 a.m. and seeing Colton Herta run a Formula 2 race. Like, that is just so silly to me. But he's chasing the dream, and it'd be interesting to see if he's able to capitalize that on Cadillac. It's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens there next year.
Thank you so much, Elijah, and Sam Hornish. You blew it. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We appreciate it. Please do us a huge favor and share this podcast with an IndyCar fan in your life and help spread the word that the Central Indiana Sports Report is here talking about Central Indiana sports every single day. Thanks, Elijah.
Thanks, Greg.
The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.